Okay, well, appreciate you guys signing in. And again, this will be the last class for the session or the series. And tonight we're going to cover basic software, some different software options available to planning your session. Another thing before we get into those details, I did want to, well, first show you some of the stuff I've generated from the software that I use. And show you where that's at so you can download that and use it at your convenience. So let me show you where that's at first. So on the ArtCentrics web page, let me increase that a little bit larger for you. This is fairly recently added. If you go to the astronomy link up here and scroll on down to the other resources here, there is the Yoder's Astronomical Targets, revision 609. In this list, there's 59 carbon stars, 55 double stars, 17 triple stars, 29 multiple stars. Obviously, there's a lot of multiple star systems in this. There's 51 galaxies, 50 open clusters, 39 globular clusters, 7 dark nebula, 11 emission nebula, and 7 planetary nebula. So where I got this list was, and I can show you some of that in the software, but basically I either entered stuff in from some of my books that I've got, and I've got books of, simple, easy to identify targets for small telescopes or, popular multiple star systems and stuff like that. So they should be fairly easy to see in a dark sky or fairly dark sky, even in a modest 6-inch telescope or so. So that's, hopefully these are pretty applicable items. The carbon star is a new thing. I have not had a chance to check any of these out yet, but what's kind of interesting on this, I was talking to one of my friends that's been doing astronomy for a long time, that's in the Superstition Mountain Astronomical League, and he really likes carbon stars, and there's a number of guys there who kind of like them. What they are is these are older stars that have gone through a lot of their life cycle of the stars, and they're now basically burning carbon. And because of that, they're actually fairly red. Some of them are like blood red, and other ones are, just variations of dimmer red and stuff like that. Anyway, he really liked them, and so I thought I would put those in there. They might be something interesting to see. Again, it's kind of nice that you can look at this carbon stars and double stars and triple stars right in your backyard, no matter how bad the pollution is, the light pollution. So I figured that I'd put those in there. And that, when I discussed it earlier with the astronomy group that I was meeting with, someone had actually sent a list of 22 reddest carbon stars or something like that. So I incorporated that and everything. So good list there. All right. So if you're interested in the list, there's different formats you can use to download it. If you have Sky Safari Pro, you can click on this, and there's a file that will download that you can go ahead and open up in Sky Safari Pro, and you can have the list there. Matter of fact, I should pull that up to see. Where's that at? Apple stuff. This in and plug it in. One second. Let me get that plugged in. And I'll show you what it looks like when you import it. So these aren't just items for this time of year. These are items that are for, the year round, as far as, some things are going to be available at some parts of the year, others won't be available till later. But the nice thing about it is that it's a pretty comprehensive list. So move that out of the way. Sky Safari Pro. Once you import it into Sky Safari Pro, you can come in here into observations. Observation list, I think, is what we want. There's a Yoder Astronomical Targets there. That only has 223. Now, not all the objects, and I'm not sure if this is the latest one, not all the objects are going to export from where I've got it at, which was Astro Planner, to Sky Safari Pro, because some of the objects apparently aren't listed or something. So it's not going to be quite as comprehensive, but pretty close, So anyway, so once you import it, you just go to that. and then you can go to actions and you can highlight objects. So I went ahead and highlight the objects and then done. And now at this point, we scroll around. You should be able to see all those 233 objects. So when you go out at nighttime, you can say, oh, you know, Gemini's nice and high. Oh, looks like something here. The double star system. So you can go check that stuff out. So anyway, just really nice to use it that way. Now, if you don't have Sky Safari Pro, that's no big deal. Let me minimize that. Oops. We just move it out of the way. If you don't have that, there's an Excel spreadsheet. You're welcome to download that. That has all the objects in it. Or you can just download the PDF file. I click on that. And as you can see, here's the PDF file. It's sorted by constellation, type of object, and the right ascension. So that way it's kind of convenient to use that way because you look up and, oh, Andromeda's in the sky. I'll go ahead and look and see what's available on Andromeda. And you can see there's 2 carbon stars, a double star system, galaxies, 1, 2, 3 different galaxies, multiple star system down here too. And it shows them all. I also highlighted the ones that I'm familiar with that are really good. I expect I'll probably highlight more later on as I get more familiar with some of these things. And then when I have notes, either I put the reference in there where these items came from. For instance, this is 22 reddest carbon stars. That's the list I got it from. Or else if I put, if you see JY, that's me. And I'll just put a comment on there. This is a really good double star system for getting good blue and gold colors in there. So anyway, so that's that. So there's multiple formats you can use on this list. You might even want to use both, 2 formats, print this out. So when you go to your Sky Safari, you can see exactly what it's supposed to be. Because sometimes some things are like, this is a carbon and a double star. I'm not sure Sky Safari will tell you it's a carbon star per se. So you may not know to look for the red, and it's red. Of course, hopefully you'll see it's red and say, oh, maybe that's a carbon star. Again, I have never actually went and looked for carbon stars, so I can't say what they're going to look like for sure. So any questions on that stuff so far? Okay, so that's that. What else was there I was going to show you? Oh, yes. And add line, this doesn't necessarily apply to you so much. I mean, I guess if you, what I want to tell you guys about was gear that's coming up for sale. But add line, if you see something you want to buy, let me know. I can go ahead and reserve it for you and ship it to you. Most of the other stuff, most people are not going to ship to, but I can ship it to you if you need to. So if you go to the ArtCentric's main page again, there is the evac link here. Follow that and go to the sell items. And I'm going to update this page tomorrow morning probably. And we've got a huge donation called from the Gutman Estate. This is a local astronomer who recently passed away. And he's selling, or we're selling for him. He donated to evac 3 different telescopes, which you guys have telescopes already, but eyepieces. This guy had a ton of eyepieces. Well, he was into bino viewers. I don't know if you know what a bino viewer is. I'll show you a picture of it. It's basically, let me see, bino viewer here. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bino viewers that he purchased. And it's basically something you put in your telescope. And Frank, this would be more for an 11-inch, not for like a airline. You've got a 6-inch. That telescope's too small to support splitting the light up into 2. Anyway, you put this into your eyepiece slot, and then it's basically like binoculars, which can be kind of cool for if you're like looking at the moon or something. Or if you got a really big telescope, it can make things look more 3D-ish. So he had all these bino viewers he brought, and for the bino viewers, of course, you require 2 eyepieces to use them. So he's got like 2 of every eyepieces, and there's like 70 eyepieces. And you can see this Teleview Pantropic. is selling for 250 is what we're selling it for. He probably, I don't remember what the price is on those there, but it's probably well over $500 for this thing. So anyway, so these are going to be available technically as of tomorrow. If you're an EVAC member, if you're not an EVAC member, then it's going to be July 1st when it's available for purchase. And I'll update this webpage every couple of days. So if you're looking for more gear, although frankly, Adeline and Frank, I think you guys pretty much have what you need anyway, but just in case you're looking for more toys, here's more toys.
Yeah. do you have a set of those vinyl views, James, for
What
you?
about, oh, I was thinking about buying one, but you see, the downside is, since we're board members, they're not going to let us, or we all decided we can't actually put a bid on any of, or purchase any of this equipment for a week. So we can't buy it till, let's see, it's going to go up tomorrow. We won't be able to buy it till like the 18th or something like that. So, so there's a good chance these are going to be gone, but maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, I would probably, I'm kind of tempted to buy a Bino viewer, something like the modestly priced one, this one for $200, along with a couple of eyepieces, just to try it out on the moon and stuff like that. But it's not a big deal if I can't get it. I've gotten along with it for as long as I have. So
yeah,
that's what I was looking at in this collection. The other thing I was very tempted with, but it's way too freaking expensive, and this is going to auction. So that's the other thing. They decided for these high ticket items, they're just going to have an auction on the next meeting, and that's going to be next Friday. They're going to have an auction here, a silent auction. These are the initial bids. This little guy here is, I know it doesn't look like too much, but these TeleVue telescopes are fairly expensive. I think a little over $1,000. But what makes it really nice is that it's got attachment for hydrogen alpha, like a hydrogen alpha filter. That's like the telescope you got, Frank. Hydrogen alpha filter and a broadband filter that you could put on it. That I think it's custom made or something by those companies, or it fits very well. And something like that with this aperture is probably just for a hydrogen alpha costs about $7,000 or $5,000. So the fact that it can be used as a normal telescope, a small little telescope, but a normal telescope, hydrogen alpha, and it has a broadband filter on it, all three of those, all the board members are like salivating over this thing, but we're probably not going to get it. But it'll be up for auction, so a board member could buy it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went for a lot more. So I got distracted. I don't know what you were asking me, but yeah, that was one of the ones I was thinking I would like. But Laura would probably kill me if I got that because I just got rid of my hydrogen alpha because I don't use it a lot. So yeah. So if I buy anything, it'll probably be a Bino viewer if it's available and a couple of eyepieces. That'll be it to go into Bino viewer. So that's that. Any questions on the sales stuff yet, or anything else? Let's see. And then I think I covered everything before we get into the actual questions. So before we get into the different software used for planning your session, did you guys have any other questions? Okay, let's go on to the software available. So I'm going to review two pieces of software that's available. One is free, the website called Telescopius. All you have to do is register on it, and it's a good little website. Matter of fact, I contribute probably $100 or so to it, and I think it does have ads, but if you make a contribution to it, they take away the ads. And it's mostly for imaging, but you can use it to look for your observation list. Or you could just use the list I gave you. Let me show you Telescopius real quick. We will pull that up, and I'll show you basically how to use it. Telescopius.com. And here it is. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to go ahead and register. So you just come in here and click on sign in, sign up. And you can all sign in, but why join? Here's the reasons why. If you are not a member yet, you just create your copious account here, and it's free. Name, username, password, etc. But I'm just going to go ahead and log in. I've got to get the password. I'm going to put this information from webs or my documentation here, so you can direct me what to do next. Okay, so we've signed in. Yeah. Okay, now we've signed in. We can come over here. Make that a little smaller. And come to your account and go to your profile. And this is true with most of or both of these programs. To really get any good useful information out of them, you need to put your hardware in it. And so that's for doing that, you come in the equipment here. And the reason for that is when it'll become more apparent later, but basically when you go to look at an object, you want to know what it's going to look like in your telescope. And by putting your hardware in there, it's going to give you a good representation of at least what the size of the object should be. So if we come here and click the equipment, here I've got telescope lenses. So this is basically optical tube assignment or optical tube OTA assembly. So here I've got my Schmidt Cassegrain. This is my 6SC in here. Let's just go and look at what it looks like. So I put the type of object in there, the brand. There, make that bigger. The aperture, the focal length, the F number of it. That seems like that should be F. Yeah. Oh, this is. Okay. This is with the focal reducer. So the focal reducer, it's the F8. So I put that information in there, as you can see. So I put the focal reducer, I put the primary focus in there. If I'm going to image primary focal or the hyperstar in here. So I put those in there. So that's my 6-inch, and I got my 11-inch in here and another one here. So that's where you put your telescope information in there. If you have a camera and you're doing astrophotography, you can put the various cameras in here, and let's open up one of those. The brand, the model, the sensor size. This is very important to see what it's going to look like when you look at your images in there. So make sure you select the right sensor size, resolution, type. Okay, you got the camera put in, then you put in your mount. Not so important, but you can, it's not that much work to put it in there. So put in your mount and type, brand, and name. You can add eyepieces in here. I haven't done it because I just use this for astrophotography. But if you're using it for imaging or for viewing, you'd want to use your eyepieces in here. Brand, diameter, focal length, apparent field of view, and model. And then software if you use and filters, that's probably not so important. Okay, any questions about entering your equipment? Okay, so let's type something in here real quick. M42. Well, or we could just, yeah. So this is where you search for objects. So if I was interested in M42, I typed it up there and it comes up with that. And there's the Orion Nebula. I'm trying to find out. I wonder if it's because of the size of the screen or something. I should on the left-hand side have where I'm at and what I'm observing. We don't put the site and the time in somewhere. And I don't know why it's not showing up. There we are. Okay, let's create that a little larger. So the next thing we need to do is set our site, our observation site. We're not in Los Angeles, so we need to go over here and click this. I put in there the various sites that I go to, like this was the one in Chile. This is my Chandler home and so forth. And you can just add a location. Click down there to add one. Let me just go to edit and show you what happens on that screen. So your Chandler home, latitude, longitude, time zone. And then if you want to have a minimal, when you're viewing things or imaging things, you want to have it require that the object is a certain amount off the horizon, you can put that in here. And that's about that. So that's putting your location in. See if I can hit cancel on there. It's spinning around for some reason. Let me refresh that. Okay, so once you got the locations in, you just come in here and select it. So I'm in Chandler, Arizona. And now it's got that information. Let's put the date in here we're interested in. So if we want to observe this weekend, let's say, we can come up here to the 14th, select the day. It shows you where the moon's at, the phase of it. Okay, we've got that selected. So now we've got June 14th up here. Hi, Jeff. Can you hear us okay?
Let's see.
I can hear you.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, great.
I can hear you.
So we're just going over some of the resources for planning your observation session. We're going over Telescopius.
Oh, okay.
And you can catch what you missed on the recording later on.
Yeah. So I got held up.
I understand. so as you see, we've selected the time and the location, and it tells us it's first quarter moon. It rises at 12:56 p.m. and sets at 12:51. Here's the daylight, when we can actually start viewing. Looks like close to 9 o'clock for imaging. And, it starts getting bright at 3:30-ish type thing. Sunset, sunrise, astronomical night. That's basically telling you the same information I just told you, and all the other stuff. So good information there. Weather forecast and so forth. So that's kind of nice. So let's say we've got, so as I mentioned before, we put our equipment in, and we got our location, we got our time. Now let's go ahead, and if we're looking for a particular object, I'm going to show you that. So actually we've got M42 up here. Probably not a good thing, because if we look at this, we can see this is how high it is in the sky as the night goes on. It's not really high. So let's pick something that's going to be better. Let's say M57, which is the Ring Nebula. So we'll click on that. And there it is, the Ring Nebula, M57. Information about it is its data sheet over here is common names. It's Ring Nebula. It's also HD 175353. It's also M57, NGC 6720. So all the different aliases, or some of the different aliases, this can be found under. Gives you the right ascension, the declination, constellation it's in, how big it is, fairly small, visual magnitude, photographic magnitude, and surface brightness, and so forth. Some good information over here. The other thing that's nice about it is it shows where it's at now, altitude. So right now it's 11 degrees above the horizon at compass 57 degrees. And oppositions, when it's highest in the sky, it'll be highest in the sky, at midnight, I think, roughly, July 3rd. This is kind of a pretty nice little chart here. It shows you how high it is in the sky throughout the night. So you just take the cursor here and say you want to look at it at 10:50 p.m. It's going to be 78 degrees altitude. Let me see. Here's the top, so 90 degrees. Okay, it'll be 61 degrees at 10 o'clock and so forth. You can see how it rises and peaks out, and then it goes through the meridian, and it starts to drop. And this green line here, you remember I was showing you guys how I said the minimal altitude? This is at 45 degrees. So this is when I would be interested in starting to view it. So this is basically my window. It's from 10:20 p.m. till 5:01 a.m. It's going to be nice and high in the sky. Of course, as you can see, the lightness scene, it's really till about 3:45 it starts getting light, so I can't really view it past 3:45. Any questions about how to read this screen here so far?
So James, with the images that it's shown right there, that is thrown right here where you are,
yeah,
those are what you're expected to see?
No, these are pictures people have taken. So again,
okay.
this is mostly and it's a good point, Adeline, because this is we're going to approach next. This is mostly a astrophotography website, but if you want to know the size of the object, that's where this is down here, this next screen. So that kind of is a good segue. So for instance, here I can come ahead. This is what you should see in your field of view. Again, this field of view is not representative of how bright things are going to be, but it's going to be good for the size if you put the hardware in. So let's say we're going to go in here, and let's say I'm looking with my 6SC and I'm doing the primary focus on it. So the focal length on that is 1500. So I'll click on that. And again, I did not put any eyepieces in here. You could put the eyepieces up here or another thing. I put a camera information in here. So let's say I come in here and I'm going to take a picture with this camera, but you'd use an eyepiece instead. That camera, and you go ahead and click OK. This is now what the field of view should look like. The same thing works with the eyepieces, right? You could put the eyepiece in there. Again, this is mostly focused on astrophotography. And if you're thinking about that, and Frank, this would be relevant to Frank and maybe Jeff in the future, you know, I can plan mosaics up here also. And actually, I just did that recently. Let me put it in here, show you how it works. M8, that was the Lagoon Nebula. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in here. Let's just go ahead and select the hardware that I did. So I use the the 11-inch telescope with the focal length or focal reducer. So that put the focal length at 1960. Okay, that. And when I looked at this, and you can move it around here and figure out how you want to do the imaging. It's still kind of big for this. Let me make sure I got the right camera also. The camera I was using is a ZWO 6. Yeah, that's it. It just barely fits in here, but I was planning on taking nice long shots of it. So what I decided to do with it was rotate the camera and get two panels together. So I'll show you how I did that. So on the grid size, 2. So I selected a grid of 2, and then I'm going to rotate it. I got to remember how to rotate it. I don't do that too often. Mosaic settings. Maybe it's here. Yeah, here. I can rotate the field of view. It looks like I need to do the other one for 2. So instead of 2 by 1, I want 1 by 2. 1 by 2. And I also need to make sure there's some overlap so I can stitch them together. It looks like I don't have it quite rotated at 90 degrees. 90 there. So when I was thinking about imaging this, I thought, okay, this is how I would like to have it oriented and pictured. And then I could take the, once I get where I want it, I can get the right ascension, the declination, and put that into my plan. So let me show you what I ended up getting. Over 10 nights, I took these 2 panels, and what I ended up getting, art centrics, to the deep sky astrophotography, and there it is. So it works pretty good. It's really good for planning, you know, not only visual, but it's, like I said, specialized in astrophotography, but it can work for visual also. Let me close that. That's the wrong one. Back with that. Any questions on this so far? Okay, so that's a cool tool to show you what to expect to see, but it doesn't really help you with the planning so much unless you know what you're going to look at. So how do you plan? That's what we're going to go over next, is how to figure out what you want to look at. And I don't use that very often, so let me make sure I go to the right screen. What's in the sky tonight? So I'm going to go back to the main screen. Okay, and I believe targets for your telescope. Let's try that out. Once we get to the right screen, I'll be okay. Yeah, this is the right screen. Okay, these are the search parameters. So now we can go ahead and put parameters we want to do to narrow down or to generate a list of things that we might be interested in. So our search parameters, you know, we'll go from sunset to sunrise, or we can go from, let's go astronautical sunset. So that's when it's getting dark enough to see, to nautical sunrise. Okay, so that's our observation time is from 8:44 to 4:15 is what's available. Or you can just go to midnight. Let's just go to midnight. Let's say 12 a.m. Okay, and then you can say that I want the object to be at least how many degrees up in the sky. You know, I don't want to look at something at the horizon. I think 45 degrees on up is a good one, and at least for 15 minutes. You can see as I'm changing things, this list is updating over here. I can specify what objects I'd like to look at. Let's say I'm looking, now what you can see is it does not have multiple star systems in here. So again, this is more focused towards astrophotography. But let's say I'm interested in globular clusters, and I'm interested in planetary nebulas, and I'm interested in galaxies. Okay, I'm going to be in a nice dark site. So you can see the list is being updated as I'm doing that. And you can specify catalogs. I would just take all the catalogs, that's fine. You can specify if it's, the moon's out, how far you want it away, and so forth. Or if, let's say we're looking at constellations. Let's say I want to know everything in Lyra. Come down here to Lyra. Now, we might have nothing based on our criteria, but let's find out. We probably have at least the Ring Nebula open. Okay, these are all in Lyra. These objects are all in Lyra. Did I select Lyra? Yeah, you can select multiple ones. So let's say Lyra and Hercules, just to add a little bit more. Okay. Of course, if you don't specify anything, it'll give you everything that meets all the other criteria. Okay, so I've got Hercules and Lyra selected. Here's where it becomes more important for visual stuff. I want to make sure I looked at objects, magnitude 20 is pretty dim, too dim for most telescopes. So let's say I'm just going to be interested in looking at things that are, let's say, magnitude 11 or brighter. What's the apparent size? Maybe I want to make sure that it's at least 2 arc seconds across, and maybe let's make that 5 arc seconds. And you can specify surface brightness too. How bright is it? That that wouldn't apply to some things, but let's say I want to make it at least, and it's just like with magnitude. Surface brightness is like magnitude. The lower the number, the brighter the object is. So want it at least magnitude, whatever you want to put in here, or not magnitude. Surface brightness is 18 or something like that. So anyway, as you can see, we put all those in. Again, you don't have to fill in all those filters. And here's a list of objects, and you can sort them by. Let's do it by. We're going to sort them by transit time. Okay, so starting this one transits at 1050, 1052, 1052, and so forth. And there's a galaxy that we want to look at. And so forth. Here's all the different objects we could look at. Let's say we want to get more details on this. I believe we can just click on it, and it'll take us to that page. And again, we can come down here and set our view and see what to expect to see in the field of view. Again, remember, this is going to be brighter than what you're going to see in a telescope. Any questions on that? How to use this? Okay, so it's a nice little tool. It's free. So that's that. That's Telescopius. And again, if you're an astrophotographer, this is great for that stuff. Let's talk about the one that I use mostly for planning observation center or observation sessions is Astroplanner. This thing costs $45, so it's not free, but it's reasonably priced, and for what it can do, it's amazing. Let me get down to that. Astroplanner. Okay, there's a lot to take in on this, so we'll just take a little bit of time. And let's see, I don't know if I can make it larger as far as the font's concerned. Yeah, I don't think I can. So I hope you can see now. Let's go over the major components of this screen. There's the menu items up here on this first thing, and then there's a ribbon that has basically the main tasks that you can do in here. Select viewing, listing what objects you're looking at. You can also make observations and record them here. Seeing what the field of view is, and then where it is in the Sky View. Basically, it's like a planetarium software. I don't use that one very much. I don't think it's very great. Then underneath that, you have this ribbon here that shows the telescope, your site, the date and time, and then information about, twilight, when the sun sets and all that other good stuff, just like in telescope. Yes, the moon phase, information about the moon. Now, this is kind of information that's interesting. This is information for the night based on what object you have selected down here in the list. It'll show you where the moon is and where that object is and how it's rising and setting comparison. And this is the long-term thing. I guess this is the sun that's yellow over here, but the red little squares here is where it's at. So you can see this is best to be viewed like in May, whatever the object is I've got selected. It peaks up nice and high in the sky during that time. So that's this ribbon up here. And we'll go into more details later on. The next ribbon down here is basically where it's at in the sky, the azimuth and altitude. And then there's a little constellation map here, shows you where it is in this constellation. Looks like that's Virgo. Let me see if it is Virgo. Yes, it is Virgo. It's in Virgo, and then latitude, longitude, and so forth. So that's that area up the top. Down here, we've got it's a data grid basically, or a spreadsheet sort of thing. And we can control what columns show up here. These are defined by you, but I've got defined as the ID. And if I have images that notates that, the name of the object, and there can be multiple names on it. You can change the size of that column, these columns. The type of object is the right ascension declination, alt as, when it rises, when it transits, when it sets, is it visible right now? Have I observed it before? I can give it a rating if I want to. ODM. I think this is the best magnification. It recommends what magnification you may want to look at it. The magnitude of the object. If it's a multiple star system, that would be the magnitude of the first component. Then there's the magnitude of the second component if it's a multiple star system. How far they're separated if it's a multiple star system. L rating, I'm not sure what that is. The size of the object, the constellation it's in, the catalog associated with that we got this chart, so forth and so forth. Period, position, surface brightness. Again, there's a lot of columns you can define and put in there if you want. When the transit date, this is when it's highest. What time of year it's highest in the sky, and how high it gets up at that point in time, and any user notes you have on there, and catalog notes. So lots of information. Again, you can all define what you want in here. There's a ton more you can define. Over on the right-hand side, we've got a screen that shows you either if you've taken a picture of it before, you can actually post your own picture in here, or else this is some sky survey. And you can select what's visible. Here's the sky survey, or you can just do a constellation over here on the right, and it'll show you where the object is in the constellation. That's pretty similar to this little guy up here. Let's see if I've got one that I've taken a picture of that I can show you. M104 Sunburrow, I think I have a picture of that one. So yeah, this is a picture I imported in the program that I had taken itself. So you can put your own pictures in there. It's kind of cool. Or you can go to the, what was, the sky survey and look at that, or here it is in the constellation, where in the constellation it is. So that's this main interface. And below that, sorry, I forgot this part down here, which is kind of important. There's items in here. You can add an item, you can delete an item, you can search for items. So if I'm looking for something, let's say I want to look for M45, that's the Pleiades. I can do a find on that, and it takes me down here to this DMSH, but that's also M45 Pleiades, Seven Sisters. So there's the Pleiades, and that's the picture I took of it. So the search is pretty neat. You can search the list really easy. There's observation links here. If you want to make an observation, we're going to get into that screen later on. You can look up stuff. So this is looking up stuff in a catalog. So for instance, if I put an ID in here and I want to look up some objects, let's say NGC 66, I think there's 6,000. Let's try 6,000. I think that's an object. You can put in here whatever you want and then do OK on that. And there's all these catalogs. You can import catalogs also that you can select to look at. But let's say I don't want, it's an NGC number I'm giving them. So I'm just going to use the NGC catalog. So I'll just check on that and hit OK. And here's the object here, NGC 6000. And I could add it now to my list if I wanted to. So that's search catalogs or adding some catalogs. And I'll get into more of that in a little bit. You can actually do a lot of really neat stuff with that, and that's very powerful. We'll talk about later on. Any questions on the general layout of the screen here? Yeah. Okay. I hope I'm not losing you guys and you're just kind of swimming. So again, just like with Telescopius, it's important that you put your hardware in and that'll become apparent later on. So now if we go here to, where is it? Import, export, save. Let's edit. Go to edit, resources. There's this resource screen that's going to show up. And tabs go across here of the resources you can add in. There's sites. You can add in sites just like what we did in Telescopius. You put in the name, latitude, longitude, where it's at, and altitude, and how dark the sky is, and so forth. Telescopes, same thing. You put the C11 in here, the aperture, what mount it's being used on it, which we're not using that mount anymore. Should update that. Type of telescope it is, aperture, focal ratio, and so forth. So I got those guys put in. Now this one I did put the eyepieces in. So these are a lot of the eyepieces that I use. The name of the eyepiece, the focal length, and the barrel size, and the apparent field of view. Optical wave. So for instance, if you have a focal reducer, hyperstar, if you're doing imaging, these are Barlow lenses that I've got, you can put in there. And then filters. This is optional. I'm not sure there's a benefit to this, but you can put in there the various filters you have if you want to. Who the observer is, demographic information there. And then if you have cameras you're using, this is kind of nice. You can put the cameras in and you can actually see what the sensor size is relative to like a 35 millimeter. So here's my 120. That's a large camera, and my 183 is smaller. 174 is even smaller yet. And so you can see all the different size cameras in there. And it has information like the pixel size, the sensor name, and so forth you can put in there. It seems like that's a lot of information. If you're doing visual, you don't need to put all this information here. But what's nice is once you start putting that information here, you can come here to the combinations, and you can say, oh, for my Quest Star, if I put the Brandon 12 eyepiece in there, I've got 107 magnification. So it tells you the magnification for all the different telescopes that you've put in here, what the magnifications are for each of the individual eyepieces. Just a lot of real good information. So for instance, if with this Brandon and the Quest Star, it can show me my aperture, focal ratio, the magnitude limit. This I can see down to 12.4 theoretically in this configuration. And Dahl's limit, I think that's how far you can separate things like double stars. This is theoretical. So in real world conditions, it's not going to be this good probably because there's atmospheric interference and so forth. So just some really good information here that's all calculated based on the information you put in the basic information. So that's where you put in your resources. Once you have that, and let's go ahead, let me show you why that's useful to have in. Let's go ahead and look at, let's look for M57. I'll do a search. That's the Ring Nebula. Let me try typing in ring. Let's see if we can find it. Ring. I'll just type ring and let's see what happens. Did it find it? That one has ring on it. That may not be the one we want. So let's do different globular. Not sure where it got ring at, but should be in there somewhere. Let's just type M57. Okay, there's M57 Ring Nebula. And there's a picture I took of it. Okay, so let's say I'm interested. I want to know what this would look like, let's say in my C6 with a particular eyepiece. So now that I've got it selected, I can come up here to field of view, click on that, and here's M57. I can come over here and select, that's for the 2 degree selection. I can come in here and say, show me the field of view for the telescope and eyepiece that I've got selected. So I select that. Right now it's got the small telescope. Let me do the Nexstar 6 SE. And let's say I want to go ahead, this is for the imaging apparatus. I'm going to use the Brandon 12 on there. For some reason, it's not showing the, you can either do a picture or else the, and let me see if I can figure out how to get an image on there. Inflations. So we've got Ring Nebula, so it gives you information up here, Ring Nebula, field of view, right sections, explanation, so forth. But I wanted to see the image. It does show you how big it should appear in there. I don't think that's what I want. There are many themes to select from. Catalog. Maybe it's got to select this catalog. Let's try Messier. We might have to go out and come back in to get it to refresh. Let's try real quick. Going out, coming back in. That didn't seem to work. Refresh that. Yeah, I'm not sure why that didn't work. I don't use this a whole lot because I'm usually imaging, but that's the idea behind it. Like I said, it at least shows you how big it should appear here, but usually you can have a survey that'll show you the image in here also, so you can actually see what it looks like. But I'm missing that somehow. Display options, constellations, borders, figures. Try that. That doesn't make any difference. Names. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options you can. Here's display. Crosshairs, proper motion, variable stars, solar magnitude. I don't see where it's at. Go to view solar system. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's not showing up, but as you can see, there's a lot to tweak about. The manual that goes with this is like 300 pages long, so there's a lot of options. It's very powerful. So that's how you could get an idea what you're going to see in here. And it's pretty handy. Let's do a multiple star system, and let's see if that works out a little better. And the other nice thing about here, if we come in here, I'm going to click on the column heading, separation. And so it sorts everything by separation. So let's say I want a fairly wide object that should be easy to notice. So I'm going to come down here to, let's say 58, this object that's 58 degrees. A Castor, that's a good one we're familiar with. Let's select that. So here's Castor, it shows you where it's at in the chart there. Let's go ahead and do the field of view. And it should, I think, still have the same hardware. Yeah, so it's this is for the Nexstar 6. If I have the Brandon in there, actually, let's go through TeleView 15-inch. Okay, you can see I should be able to resolve these two because they're fairly close together. But I might get a better view if I go to like the 8mm eyepiece and update that. So, and then refresh it. So that's how this works. It's pretty neat little deal there. Any questions on the field of view page there? Okay, I'm going to briefly go through the sky view again. I don't use this. It's too crowded for me to think it's very useful. Here's the entire night sky basically, and yeah, it's just basically a planetarium type thing. But again, I really don't use it. You can change, whether you see the Milky Way outline and stuff, so you can tweak it as you want. And everything, borders of constellations you can put in there. So that's the sky view. Observations. Okay, let's go back to the objects. So let's say I've just taken a look at Almec here, and I want to go ahead and record my observations for it. So I can there's menus that you can right click and then make observation, or you can come up here and click on the observations tab. Personally, I don't use this because I'm not going to use the computer for, when I'm doing visual observing out in the night sky. So you can come in here and add an observation, click on that, and what the date and time is. It selects the current, it doesn't, no date time. You can click now and select the current date and time. So you can do that, hit OK on that. And then you can come in here, it has the site that you're at here, how the seeing conditions are, if you want to put the seeing conditions, and transparency, who's observing. You can also define your own fields here and enter that in, and also make your comments up here. Here's the hardware that you've used. So let's say we're using the C6, we can come down here next to our C6 and what eyepiece we use to look at it with, Brandon 8, and so forth, information down here. And then observation notes down here, visibility. There's just a lot of information you can put in here if you want and record all this. Object fields, information on the field. So that's the observation option there. Any questions on that? Okay, on to the next object. Back to the object page. So where this is really powerful is, how did I generate this list? Well, let's say let's start a new list. Let's say we're starting from scratch and we want to go out observing tonight or something. So I'm going to come up here and File, New, and we'll do with no objects, hit OK on there. Okay, and it comes up with another instance of this application. Now, one of the nice things about this is if I have two different lists up like this, I can actually come in here on this existing list, and let's say I wanted to use this on the other list. I can just select it and drag it and drop it onto this list over here. I'm not going to do that for now, and it'll import those items that I selected over here. I'm going to go ahead and close this one, and I'm not going to save it. Okay, so we got a new list that we want to go ahead and do. Let's go ahead. We're going to come in here and we're going to search. I think it's lookup. Let's try lookup. Might be search catalog. Yeah, let's go ahead and search. Let's say we want to add Messier objects in here. So we can come in here and find the Messier catalog. Okay, and of course we could do all catalogs if we wanted to also. So you can select your catalogs you're interested, and then you put the filters in here to find out what you're going to get. So for instance, if I want to say I want it to limit the visibility to this site, let's go, we're going to observe some here at Chandler House, and we're going to observe tonight. And I want to observe from, let's say we're going to observe some 8 p.m., let's say 9 p.m. till midnight. 8, 9, 10, 11, 11:59. Okay, so it's going to only show me themes, and I want to make sure it's between 45 degrees and 90 degrees. I want it above the horizon. Let's say 25 degrees. For visual, we can go lower. So 25 degrees and 90 degrees. And that should do it. Okay, so we're only going to get objects that hit this criteria. We can also come in here and say, well, we only want themes in this magnitude range. So if I select that checkbox, I can say, let's say we're willing to go to magnitude 12. You could do that, or else you can say for my telescope, I can come in here and say for my next star 6, what's appropriate? I can go down to magnitude 13 for the next star 6. That would be in a dark sky. Let's leave that there for now. If you're doing multiple stars, you can put magnitude difference in ranges and stuff. There's just, let's say here's also the size. I want to make sure it's at least 5 arc seconds. up to 100 by 100. You could do that. You could do surface brightness, lots of criteria. Let's say we want to limit it just to certain types of objects. So let's go ahead and say, for some reason it's not letting me do that. Maybe I got to select something over here. Let's say I'm interested in galaxies. Yeah, it's selecting that automatically. Open clusters and planetary nebulas. As you can see, it's showing you the number of items in the list that I've selected, in the catalog that I've selected, and supernova remnants. If I had selected, a lot of lists and there was overlap, it would just show a lot larger number. So I'm interested in those objects, and let's say, you could limit it to the constellations. I won't do that for now. And that's about it. Let's say that's criteria we want to use for tonight's viewing. Now we can do a search. And here's all the things that meet that criteria. A lot of stuff that meets the criteria. Now I can add them all, or I can come in here and say, I want the lagoon, I want this line, and come in here. But let's just go, and then you could add selected. But instead, we're just going to add all for now. Okay, here's everything here. These things highlighted in yellow are things that I've already observed before. That's kind of where it's nice that you can see what you've observed before. So there's a list of objects here. I can sort like by names, by declination, right ascension, and so forth. So there you are. You've got a list of objects that you can view. Any questions on what I've done so far? Okay, another nice thing that's really cool about this application is you can actually come in here and go to what is it? User contributed plans. We can download user contributed plans. This is plans that someone else has put in the system already, and there are a ton of plans. So for instance, if I've got a book that I wanted to find, you can come in here. Let me find out where that's at. It's been a while since other tab. Yeah, let me actually, like I said, I wasn't able to, for some reason I was having trouble getting the image show up. Let me show you what it looked like. But this is in the field of view thing. It's like this is a globular cluster here. It can show you what that globular cluster would look like. That's that. Hardware. And we're talking about that. Surface filtering out and so forth. Looking for the user contributed plan. Okay, catalog. Okay, so if you have a book, an astronomy book that you can read, there's a good chance that if it has a list of stuff that it might be in there. So for instance, some of the user contributed plans that I find useful is there's the Left Turn at Orion. That's a real popular book. So we can go in there, the user contributed plans, and go to the book section. Let's see if there's books. Plan, by date, by author, object type, category. Okay, it's under category. All right, that's that. So category, we're looking for books, and you can see all these different books that are in there. Let's say we wanted to Left Turn at Orion. Scroll down to that. HIG. It's not being listed here. It's somewhere in there. City Astronomy. City Astronomy. Okay, well, there it is. Yeah, so that's the idea. I'm not finding the book I was looking for, but you can see there's all these books in here. So you select that book. Let's say here's a City Astronomy Double Stars. That might be a good one. And then you can download that list. Okay, and it opens it up here. We're going to close that up. And here's double stars, that book, that talks about double stars for viewing in the city. And here's the good ones. So, and some of these things have hundreds of items in them. So let's say I like these guys and I want to use them. I can come over here and drag them and drop them in my current list. And my list of objects has just updated, and it includes, I'm not going to save that, includes those items from that catalog that I just dragged and dropped from. So it's very powerful. As you can see, you got a lot of features that you can use on this. So this is probably more for the advanced people when they're really looking for specific items and everything. What I found a lot useful, for instance, let's go ahead and let me open up open recent. Here is astronomical target. So let's say I want to go in tonight and do some observing in the backyard. I'm going to take that list of my astronomical targets, and I'm going to sort through it. Save changes. No. Let's say I want to do multiple star systems tonight, so I can go ahead and sort the list. I will either sort list just by hitting the things up here. I'll hit the column heading, and here's the list sorted by objects types. So if I want only double stars, I'm going to come up here and select the double stars. That's the double star here. Actually, we want to do select everything that's not. So I don't want to look at any carbon stars tonight. I'll select all those and delete them. And then dark nebulas we're going to delete. There's the double star system. We're going to do this, speed it up a little bit. I'll select that and go all the way to the end. Oops. Not getting it right. Open. Delete those guys, delete. We got more stuff in there, but I don't want to take all that time. So anyway, you could delete that and have just the multiple star systems. And then you can say, well, I'm only interested in ones that you can do this separation. I only want ones that are, more than 5 arc seconds. So I come down here and select all the ones up to that and delete those. And now I've got ones that are 5 arc seconds or more. And let's say I'm interested, I can sort it by magnitude. I only want ones that are magnitude of, this much or less, and delete all the other ones. So you can really narrow it down for your needs and wants and get exactly what you're interested in that night. Let me close this and not save it because I don't want to accidentally save it. Save changes, no. Okay, so that's that application. I can open it back up if anyone wanted more clarifications on any of this stuff I covered in that. Okay. All right. Hopefully I haven't bored you guys too much with this information. And just as a heads up, there's a good chance if they have time in the next East Valley Astronomy meeting, I'm going to actually review this software. So hopefully if you're attending that meeting, you don't get too bored, but it's only going to be half an hour or less. So that's pretty much all the stuff I had for the class. Is there any other general questions I had before we wrap things up here? Okay. Well, thanks everyone.
Yeah, when are you going to have this class again?
When are you going to have again? When there's enough demand for it. I usually want to get at least 3 or 4 people that are interested in it. So I'll probably put an email out, a filler email in the fall or something like that when it starts cooling down some, see if anyone's interested. So yeah. So hopefully, I guess I'll ask each of you think about it here real quick. On your feedback, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and how I could improve it. And don't be shy. Give me your opinion. So Jeff, we'll start off with you since you're on the top of the list here. You want to tell me what you thought about it and what you changed?
Well,
With Frank or Jeff?
Jeff.
Jeff. Well, overall, I liked it, and I liked the hands-on part probably the most. But there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know, so I didn't know what I didn't know at that point. As far as dislike, nothing comes to mind.
Or did I like for instance tonight's session, did I go into details of stuff that you're not really interested in, not, I could have passed on, spent too much time on something, or
probably some of the ones that you said that you didn't use, I know you didn't talk too much about, but yeah, some of this last part probably.
okay. Anything in particular? You said you like the hands-on part. When you say the hands-on, the labs, you really appreciated those.
Yeah, the labs, and then the giving us the different targets to look at, printing those out, and trying to plan it. Like I could even done more of that, more of the like how to set up a planning session.
Well, yeah. So that's what this whole class was about. This last one was
Yeah.
how to do the planning. So you did miss a lot of the telescopius, and then also let me show you. This is a little review for the other guys, but just to show you for the list, I did generate a list using that theme. And if you go to the astronomy over here
Mm-hmm.
and scroll down to the other resources, I do have a list of like 260 objects that you can look at, and you can either download them in Sky Safari or the PDF. So this is, not just for right now, this is throughout the year, different objects. And it's sorted by constellation type and right ascension. So this is a good resource for you in the future,
Yeah,
because I won't be there generating a list for you every night. This would be a good one that you can start off with.
Yeah, that'll work.
It also has a spreadsheet, so you can sort things out there too. So just click on any of those. Okay, anything else, Jeff?
I don't think so.
Okay. How about you, Frank? Did you want to give some feedback on what you liked or didn't like, and whether it's too
Well, I
fast?
thought it was excellent, and that's why I'm hoping to be able to go through it again, because when you get old, your memory just ain't as quick as you hope it to be. But
Okay.
also, the other thing is that that one page you had up, the print was awful fine. So when
It
it
was
showed up on my screen, it was extremely,
small.
see the page you have up there right now, I don't have a problem reading. The gray page, but that white page, it had all the different, where you were sorting and stuff up on the screen. It just, you were
Too small
moving
to see.
pretty quick. And then the fine print, so you couldn't really catch what you were doing.
Yeah,
I could hear what you were saying, but I couldn't actually see
it. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, the problem is, and maybe there's a better way I can do it. I can't with the web browser. I can increase the font size. With this application, I can't seem to increase it. But I could have changed the screen resolution. Is probably what I could have done to make it better, because within here I can't change it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see that print there is extremely fine
Really small.
on my computer, and I've got a 2-screen setup, and I've got 27-inch screen. So
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. Next time I'll try to just change the resolution of the font, because I'm sure that's a problem for everyone else too. So no, not the font, but the screen resolution. That might work if I do that. Okay, anything else, Frank?
no. Are we going to go to Picket Post on Saturday?
Well, that's a good question. I was looking at it. The moon's going to be out, and it's going to be dang hot. It's going to be like 80-something degrees.
Okay, well,
I think we're done. So you guys did get shortchanged one lab, unfortunately.
okay. Well, maybe we can pick it up in October.
Absolutely. So, actually, we had the board meeting last night for the evac, and I mentioned to them that we had like 20-something cars in the last one, and they're really excited about that. So, we're definitely going to start being more consistent in the cooler weather of having that out there at least once a month. So, you guys keep an eye open. You're on my distribution list. We would definitely do that. So, So that's good. Okay, thanks, Frank. Adeline, what about you? What's your feedback on it?
I thought the class was very good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I learned, and a lot of it is that for me, I need to just go back in and listen to the recorded sessions again, and play with what I learned, so I could get more comfortable with them.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you'd been able to join us for one of the labs or something. But like I said, next time you're out, if you're up anywhere in the neighborhood, let me know, and we'll try to get up with you and stuff. So.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure doing the class with you guys. I always learn a little bit myself, and hopefully, instill a bit of excitement about the astronomy and get some younger, fresh blood in the club here is the key also. So I guess that's about it. Well, we'll go ahead and stop the session here. And if you guys have any questions in the future or anything, just feel free to reach out and ask me questions.
Thank you much, James.
All right, you guys have a
Thanks,
good
James.
evening. Yep.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
James.
All right. Goodbye.